Hello guys and welcome back, all 1,500 members of this channel. I did record a video and that video was made, but the video seems to be gone and deleted and I don't know how to get it back. So in re-recording this, we're just gonna freestyle. We're gonna be talking about how nobody really likes George Russell anymore. And I think this is a slightly wider issue, more towards British bias than anything, but I'm not really prepared to talk about British bias in this video, just George Russell. 2 weeks ago, in the Australian Grand Prix, George Russell had a last lap crash with Fernando Alonso, in which Fernando Alonso got a 20-second time penalty, dropping him down to like P8. I personally said that the penalty was harsh and I didn't think that any incident in the past had warranted such a penalty, so it was really weird to get such a penalty. And the fact that the FIA said that the crash had nothing to do with the penalty is in itself a massive lie, because we all know that if George Russell didn't crash into the barriers, the FIA wouldn't even have investigated that. But I wasn't willing to make a whole video about it, or even a mini video about it. I was prepared to make a small comment in the middle of a separate video. However, this morning, I woke up and YouTube decided to recommend me the press conference for the Japanese Grand Prix with some of the drivers. You had Alex Albon, you had Max Verstappen, yada yada yada. George Russell was there. One of the questions was asking George about the crash he had in Australia. And this was his reply.
For George, this one, but for the group as well. A lot's been said about brake testing last week. Is there a discussion to be had amongst yourselves about what is legal, what is normal, what you can do and what you can't do? Do you expect more discussions to be had for you, George, and also for Max, possibly?
Yeah, I think it was obviously a bit of a strange situation that happened last week. As I said at the time, totally caught by surprise. I was actually looking at the steering wheel, making a switch change in the straight, which, you know, we all do across the lap. And when I looked up, I was in Fernando's gearbox and it was sort of too late, and then next thing.
Yes, you heard that right. Fernando Alonso got a 20-second time penalty because George Russell was too busy fiddling with his steering wheel than looking at the car ahead. No wonder the car ahead came in so quickly, because he wasn't even looking. He wasn't even looking. The more George Russell speaks about this incident, the more you can see him getting nervous at the fact he knows it was his fault. And the reason everyone's decided to turn on George Russell, including Mercedes fans, we all know the "he just turned in on me" meme, coming from basically every incident known to man, with George Russell included. But this brings on a whole nother meaning when George Russell turns himself into a torpedo like he did in Kota in 2022, or he decides to kill Valtteri Bottas in 2021. Personally, you may be wondering, why is the agenda against Russell so bad? Of course he's had some crashes, but why is it so bad? Because if you remember, back in 2019, back in 2020, and even in 2021, people were relatively on George's side. Whenever George got into Q2 or he got into Q3 in that terrible Williams, we would all get on his side. When he got P2 in Spa, we all were on his side. However, I think coming to Mercedes, he really was expecting to dominate everyone and become the best driver and the most recognized driver that the world has ever seen. And obviously we know Mercedes are struggling, but that just hasn't been the case. So George Russell has had the ego of someone who's won a championship, but in reality, he's won a single race. Which, obviously give him props, is one more than Lando Norris. But I just think that if George Russell acted a little bit more humbly and accepted his faults a little bit more, people would like him more.